Hi everyone, welcome back to Walking Home. This is Michael Donovan, and today we have a special episode. I have this idea of another podcast that I want to do, and I've been experimenting with some stuff, and this is the first, and I'd like to get your opinion. So if you enjoy this podcast or have any thoughts about this podcast, please make a note on iTunes as you rate and review, or send me a message, send me an email, send me whatever, but let me know what you think about this episode. It's a little different. It's an interview that I did recently, and you'll see. It's a little different, but I hope you all enjoy it, and I'm going to let our guest be a little anonymous on this one, and I hope you all enjoy this. So everyone, Happy New Year, and enjoy.
Let's see. So, well, I guess I don't know where to start. Okay, I was really depressed for a long time because my sister was a heroin addict and my brother was an alcoholic. That had a large part to do with the way I was feeling too, but then they both passed away within a year of each other, so that was really tough to deal with. And then I was dating this guy, and the sex was really bad. But I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was just like, why was it bad? Was it bad? Was it just me thinking it was bad? But I never remember being like, oh yeah, I want him, or I want his body, or anything like that. And it was, and definitely I do remember being like, this sucks. This sex is bad. It fucking blows. And then we broke up. I broke up with him, and then I started seeing this other guy, and I'm crazy attracted to him, but he couldn't get it up, and so we never had sex. It was really weird to go into a relationship where I really loved the human being, but couldn't have a sexual relationship with him. And it was not by choice. It was because he, I guess, was just personally going through his own thing. And but it was obviously sex is so tied into love, so it was and relationships, and so it was really tough because my whole I had so many doubts because of it. I was just am I does he actually not really like me? That just made me question all the time what he really thought, because I think for me sex is a large part of a relationship. So we broke up, and then I started getting into self-help and empowerment, and and I think that as I've become more aware of my consciousness and how to make myself happy and pull myself out of a depression, I don't know, I recently started, well, I don't know, I feel I just met somebody who we just had really great chemistry, and it was nice because I haven't had that in so long with somebody, where I feel super comfortable with them, and I can just fuck, animals, which is what I want. I think everyone should want that, because you're just you're going at it, and you're and it feels so good. And it's and it's weird to think, because what's the difference between just having sex and there's not that that chemistry there? What is that, But then when you have it, it's awesome. Because even if you're not having amazing sex, it's still so much better than when that thing isn't there, which is interesting. So I feel like, you know, like for my sexuality, it's like, and this person also is constantly like, this guy that I'm like seeing is constantly like, what do you like? Like, how do you like it? And do you like, this is my fantasy. And it's nice to, I feel like he's like teaching me like how to like approach sex in a more like adult way, I guess. And like, you know, like no one's ever been so like just asking like, what do you like? What's your fantasy? Like, I've never really had that in a relationship. Like, it's always been like, you know, vanilla ice cream or whatever. And he's like Rocky Road. Oh my God, that was so dumb. Anyways, yeah, so it's nice because it's like I found somebody that I can like explore my sexuality with, you know, like, and it's funny because I'm still like very shy because for the last like 7 years, I feel like I've just been like, you know, in these like mundane relationships that were just like boring. And it's nice that I feel like I'm having this like sexual revolution, or I don't know what it is, but it's like this guy is like helping me like find that, I guess, which is awesome. With both of my exes, like the one I was with like for 3 years and the sex was just like boring, but like he had like a big dick and it was like ideal, you know, but like it never did anything for me, which I just think is just so strange, like, which makes you know that there's like more to sex. It's funny because I asked this new guy that I've been like seeing like what is love to him, and he said it's good sex. But like, you know, but then in the last relationship I had where we weren't having any sex at all, I did love him, and I stayed with him for a year because I loved him, even though like there was no sex. And ultimately, like for me, that's like kind of, I wouldn't say that that's why it ended, because I think my emotions were so tied into that idea of like not having sex that like it's hard to separate the two. But we still have like we're still like always talking, and you know, like I live in Chicago and he lives in New York, so like we talk like over text all the time, and it's always, you know, sometimes he'll text me or I'll text him like, I miss you. I don't even know why I miss him. It's just like because I love him, you know, like he's just one of those people that I'm like, oh, I love you. But then even when I've been saying like I love you more and more recently, I'm like, I think I should stop saying this. But then it's like, why should I stop saying it? Because if I do care about this person and I do love him, like I should let him know. But I definitely feel like in that relationship, like I made a comment to him about sex or something, and I can't even remember what I said, but he was like, hey, you can't say that to me. But anyways, he immediately like picked up this old habit that he had where he was like, he's a very good talker. I feel like New Yorkers are very good talkers, but him specifically is a very good talker, and he talks a lot of games. So he would be like, oh, I'm gonna fuck you so nice, and oh, I can't wait to like touch your body and suck your lips, and you know, like all this stuff that totally turns me on. But then it's like, I know in reality like that's not gonna happen, because and then of course I'm like, well, maybe it's only because I'm thinking that it's happening that way. Like, so but it's weird that is still like a part of our relationship, even though we're not together anymore, and like we still love each other. But it's like when that kind of creeps in from time to time, like the sex stuff is like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like why is, like, I don't know, he needs to like face his problems or something. I don't know, but you know, all those like old questions come back up, like, maybe it's me, like maybe I'm not good enough. And then I know that it goes back to like the root of like, you know, we have like a long history together. So like some of like the initial things that I've never let go of from the very beginning of the relationship. But like, I don't know. I think that he has to work on himself. I mean, we all do. But, and then my other boyfriend, where it was like really bland vanilla sex, we're friends, but I saw him recently in Chicago and I was like, this is so weird. Like, this guy is like so nice and like so intelligent. And I know that's why I dated him. Like, that's why. But like, I just like have no sexual desire for him at all. And it's weird to think that I was with him for so long. And I think I was partially only with him because he was there while I was dealing with like these huge deaths, you know, like in my life. And so I needed somebody to like cry on, literally. So yeah. But it's nice to have that. God, it's nice to have good sex. Where it's just like, you know, even if it's like just like sliding his dick in, it's just like, yes, you know? I don't know. Sex is weird. But then I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about like sex and love, and he was saying how he was married and he met this woman and he fell in love with her, and ultimately that was the reason why he separated from his wife. And I was like, oh, and then he goes, but we only kissed twice. And I was like, wait, so you never actually like had sex with her? And he was like, no, but like we really loved each other. And he was like, and I was married, so I couldn't like break my vows. And I was like, okay, I respect that. But like, to me, like, even if somebody says like love and sex isn't intertwined, like that's bullshit, because it totally is. And it just makes me feel like I don't really think you were really in love with her. Well, I don't know. But then it's like I had my ex-boyfriend we had a lot of love, but I couldn't have sex with him. But ultimately that was the end of the relationship. And I guess maybe ultimately that was the end of his relationship too, because he wouldn't let himself have her fully. And so it ended. Yeah. So what I like about this new guy is that he's like, well, first of all, one thing that he said to me is like I love when a guy will go down on me, and I also love not having to ask. I also like not talking during sex, you know, just doing it. And it's funny because he asks me questions like, well, what do you like? How do you like it? And I'm just like, shut up and kiss me, you know, like, but, yeah. So one of the things that I'm interested in exploring with him specifically is that he asked me like, how do I orgasm? And I was like, well, you know, I need like stimulation from the outside, like oral, or like while we're having sex, you know, like if he's like hitting it in the right spot, you know? And he was like, no. And he like tapped my head. He was like, it's in here. And I was like, holy shit, you know? And it just kind of goes hand in hand with like this whole like, you know, evolution of myself of like, you know, waking up and becoming aware of like the universe and the higher forces and thinking and like how we really have the control of our minds, you know? And so that's like been something that I'm like interested in exploring, is like, you know, like how to like let myself go enough, or like, I guess be willing enough to, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but to accomplish that with my mind, you know, like what he's saying. But like, it was funny because when I saw him last, he was like, will you give me a blowjob? And I was just like, no. And he's like, you don't like giving blowjobs? And I was just like, well, it's not that I don't like giving them, but I felt like, I guess I don't like when people ask me. But then I was like, you give me head. But what I loved is that he was just so like willing to be like, this is my fantasy. I fantasize that you would like give me head. And I was like, okay, then I'll do it. And it was nice, and I really liked it anyway. But with him, it was nice because it was like, I don't know, I felt like I could be that person that was like, you know, like, not a porn star, that's not like the right thing, but like, you know, just somebody who's like, I'm good at this, and like, does it feel good, and like, just like being sexy, you know, and like, and being like bad, and like loving that. And it was like nice to do that for him, and you know, knowing that it felt good for him, I guess. But and then the sex was awesome after that. Yeah, and it's funny because he was like, one of these days we're really gonna go at it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. I hope so. Sooner than later. But, and then it's interesting, like the last time I was with this guy, like, as of right now, it's more of just like we hang out and then we fuck kind of thing. Like, you know, I'm just seeing him, and I guess you could call that like what do they call that? Like a casual fuck buddy or something. I don't remember. But anyways, but it's interesting because every time we have sex, like I see more vulnerability in him, which is like interesting because like this last time we were like just laying down afterwards, and like I felt like for the first time I really saw him. Like he like looked at me like so like truthfully, which is like a bizarre thing to say, like, but there was that moment where I was just like, whoa, that's who you are. I can see that. And it was like really nice. And then of course I think like it also got immediately awkward, and we both were like, okay, like we'll get dressed now, you know, like that like tender moment of vulnerability, I guess. But and it's also scary to think that like, you know, like, is that love? Like, and then like when you have this casual sex with somebody, it's like, where is that love? Like, because he's not like my boyfriend, I feel like this barrier of being like, oh, I can't say I love him, but like, I think I do. But then sometimes I'm like, well, wait, stop. Like, what do I really want? And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, love and sex is just like really intertwined for me. Maybe not for everybody, but yeah. And it's scary to think that I'm falling in love with him. It's scary. I'm still shy when it comes to like having sex, I think. And I'm like trying to get back to this place that I feel like I was at like 10 years ago, where I was just like, I don't care where I am, I'll fuck you, you know, like, and now I'm just much more of like a closed off, like, oh, I can't initiate this because what if they don't want me, or I don't know. And like now I'm just trying to like, you know, like tap into that, like, and oh, it's nice like when you just embrace it, you know, when you're like, yeah, like I'm a sexual person and I want to fuck him, and you know, it's nice to like let your fantasies become reality, like, or like, you know, you fantasize like, you know, that you could be a porn star, and then you like let that, it's just like you just stop thinking about it, you know, and then you really just like let go and like, and I don't know, just like let it feel good. And I don't know what to say. But yeah, like he's like, oh, can I fuck you in the ass? But like, and then he's like, no, but we'll like save that for later. I'm like, okay. I think that he like, when he's like asking me these things and like suggesting things, it's like nice that he wants to do them, but also that like, you know, I want to grow in my sexuality experience. I just feel so goddamn naive about like life and sex and everything. So it's just like nice that there's somebody there who's like, I feel like, you know, kind of like, you know, tapping me like on the shoulder, like, hey, do you want to do these things? Like whispering in my ear kind of thing. And like, maybe I'm not ready for it yet, or like, I don't really like I like when he asks me. I don't really care that he's like later. If anything, I'm like, okay, yeah, later, because maybe not right now. But I'm also like one of those people where I'm like, once I'm in the situation, like I don't like talking about things exactly. Like, I mean, because I would rather just like do it and like go with the flow and like feel it. And like, if it happens, it happens. Like, you don't have to like, we don't have to talk about it, you know? I mean, so there's kind of like a, you know, a give and take there where it's like, I like that he's asking me these questions because they're good questions. Where in the past I've had like my boyfriend be like, can we have sex? And it's like, of course we can fucking have sex. What kind of sex do you want to have? Whereas like the questions he's asking me are like, do you like, how freaky do you want to get, you know? And yeah. I think because I don't like talking about it, I mean, there's a reason for that, you know? It just like, it makes me uncomfortable, or like maybe I'm afraid to admit what I really do want to do. And like, so some of the things I really want to do would be like a threesome, but that also scares me. It's like all these, the fantasies like scare me, you know, because it's like, well, what if I do it and it's like awful and it ruins everything, you know? Or, and that idea of like, what if it's awful and it ruins it, is pretty much what I think about for like any kind of fantasy I have, which like ultimately prevents you from doing it, right? Because I'm afraid. So, God, sex is so heady. That's so fucked up. That's so funny because he was like, it's in your mind. But it's true. Yeah, so I think I'm just learning to like let go and like really just let myself, let the fantasies happen. I mean, I don't have any like crazy fantasies, I feel like, where it's like, I don't know, like, I mean, I like him in that he like takes charge. That's like, I guess it's like a fantasy that's being fulfilled. You know, where he's just like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, yeah. I don't know. But then I also have the fantasies of like, you know, being in love and like having really good sex because you love the person, which is like not generally what you think of when you think of like fantasies, you know? I feel like generally you think of like sexual fantasies as being like this like dirty thing, and or like a, you know, I'm gonna whip you or like, or handcuff you. Those would be interesting things to try. Or like getting tied up. Ooh, yeah, I want to get tied up. But also like the real like being in love, like having a love soulful connection is like also a fantasy of mine. And I mean, I hope that happens. I don't know. Now I'm like thinking like, do I make this happen? It's like that play The Zoo Story where by Edward Albee where like this guy goes to the Central Park and he like meets this guy on the bench and he starts talking to him and the guy's like really weirded out by this guy who's talking to him because he's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm reading my newspaper, leave me alone. And so the guy just keeps talking to him and talking to him and talking to him. And eventually he like gets him so riled up that somehow he gets the man to stab him. And then the guy's going to die. And like, and then he has this like beautiful monologue at the end where he's just like, you know, I don't think I made this happen. I don't think I have the power to make that kind of thing happen, but I think I made this happen. Like, you know, because he was thinking. And I mean, that's always like the question is like, do we make these things happen or are they just happening? Like, is it the universe or is it us doing it? And like, where's the line between that? And I pretty much think that with everything, like, you know, relationships, like sex, career, like, you know, all that. It's like, am I in control of this or is it just like a coincidence? You know? But I think I'm on the road to figuring it out. Yeah, being tied up. That I think it's the fantasy of like, I think what it is like I don't want to have control, but I want somebody to like take control of me, you know? I guess that's what it is. I like I like having somebody like, I guess, dominate me is what it is. So, you know, being tied up, it's like I have no control of like what is going to happen. And they're just like, you're going to do this. And now I'm going to fuck you. But obviously, you know, like there has to be some, you know, trust in there. Like, I know he's not going to like murder me or something. But, yeah. Also, it's just fun to like play, you know, play that way. It's like, and I feel like with this guy, it's like, it's somebody that I can play with. It's not just like, okay, we're going to do this thing and it's going to be sex and it's going to feel good and then we're going to love each other. It's like, what do you want to do? Like, let's play. And that was nice because like the last time we were hanging out and he was just like, this is my fantasy. And I was like, I'm just an illusion. Like, which was kind of fun to like play that game of like, I don't actually exist. This is just me in your mind. And I'm just here to like fulfill your fantasy. I mean, and it was funny because you say those things out loud and then you like think like, wait, is that what it is? Maybe it is what it is. You know? Because you're like really into playing the game. You know, like having fun with it instead of being so like practical and like letting yourself like imagine like I'm not a real person, I'm just an illusion, or like, or whatever it is you want to play, you know? And I think as I'm saying this right now, this is getting me even more excited to do this in the future, because it's like, wait, I can be whatever I want to be. Oh my God. I'm like having an epiphany right now. This is retarded. When I'm, you know, with him and like having sex, or like in his case talking about it beforehand, I guess it's just nice to like have that person that like you can, it's nice to like pretend that you're somebody else, or like, and then I guess that frees you, to like, what is that? That's like, but it frees you to like get crazy and wild and. Talking about playing, yeah, it's nice like that I guess it is just like freeing your mind and letting go so that you can, maybe that's like who you really are as opposed to like becoming somebody else. It's like that person inside of you that wants to come out, right? Yeah, so I guess like playing just allows you to like be that person that you want to be, but like because you have this idea of like who you're supposed to be, or like for me, I'm like, I'm a good girl, so like I don't want to, I'm afraid to like be bad, right? Or like that I have like a kinky side or something, or like that I, like want to be whipped. I don't know if I actually want to be whipped, but that just came out of my mouth. So maybe I do. But, yeah, I guess, I mean, this is getting really heady for me because I'm also an actress, So it's like, I'm just like, well, yeah, this is what acting is like. And so maybe that's why I enjoy acting so much, is because I get to, this is going to get weird. Well, I get to like portray different sides of myself that are actually like, because everything is inside of you. So I've been talking with this guy about the shadow, where like the shadow is all the negative things inside of you that you don't want. And he was telling me that like when he goes to work as an actor, he uses the shadow every time. And it's interesting, like, it's interesting to like, that's all anybody wants, right? Is to just see who you really are, and like for you to be like an honest, truthful person. But with that comes like all of your ugly parts too, like your vulnerability and like your ugliness, your evilness, like that's what makes us human. And so we need that side of us too. So like when you're playing, you put that word in there like, oh, we're just playing, but it's really allowing you to like free yourself to, do whatever you want to do, whether that be like, like sexually, like, I think I'm going to practice this, like where I'm like, because one of the things that I really want to do is like be more assertive. Like I always wait for him to like kiss me. And even when he's like, do you want to give me anything? I'm like, no. But I do want to give him something. I'm just like afraid to do it. And I don't know what that fear is. But I need to like embrace that part of me that's like wants to do it, that wants to just like ravage him and like make out with him and bite him and and just do it. And like, I don't have to wait for him to be like, kiss me first, you know? That's also weird because I also am one of those people, and this really bothers me, but I never say I love you first. Even like to anybody. Like even my friends, when you're getting off the phone and they're like, I love you, I never say it first. I'm always like, okay, bye. And they're like, I love you. And I'm like, oh yeah, I love you too. And I actually had my ex-boyfriend say, you never say I love you first. Like it really bothered him. And it was the first time I realized it, but I don't ever say it first. It's like, what am I so afraid of? I have a lot of fear inside of me. That's really annoying. It is though, because, you know, that always just makes me think like, who are these people that are like, you know, our idea of success is like, you know, like the celebrity culture, right? And it's like, I always think like, are they not afraid? Is that what it is? Is it like fear? That's like, I guess fear holds us back. Oh, man. Yeah, I wonder, I don't know, maybe I have more fear than other people, but like other people have more fear than me. That's for sure. Yeah. But even like, but beyond this guy that I feel like is helped me, I feel like there's a part of me that's definitely like let go of like being so nice. Like I like had a one night stand and it was just like super dirty, and I had no desire for him to be like, I mean, I did have a little desire for him to like want me after it was all said and done, like, but I also was just like, I don't really care if I ever see that person again, you know, like, and I feel like there's that part that's like, you know, in all of us, I feel, not all of us, but like a lot of people where they're like, oh, the good thing is like to see each other again. And like, that's like what you should do because you hit it off or whatever. Right. But like, I don't know. Then just like having a one night stand. Well, I think I really like one night stands actually. That's not the first time that's happened. Now that I think about it, I like having sex and then never seeing them again. I guess that's because you can just be like, they don't know who you are, and it allows you to just, I don't know, experience something without having to deal with like people's real lives or something. Yeah. I really liked that moment that we had after the sex where it was like just super tender and like really seeing who he was. And like he looked at me, and I feel like I would want more of that, you know? I mean, the sex feels really good, but that's like the best part is like seeing somebody, is like seeing their, you know, like it just felt so tender. And I remember like I was like touching his, like I was like rubbing his back and like, you know, like putting my fingers through his hair, and it was just like it. And I remember thinking at the time like, oh, that's weird. I'm like rubbing his back. But it wasn't like, it was like I was just doing it. It was like, it wasn't me doing it. It was like, I don't know, like a reflex or an instinct or like, or not a reflex, but like it felt like it wasn't me doing it. And I was like, this is so, I remember literally it felt like two people inside of my body at that time where I was like doing these things, you know, that were so natural and like nice. And, but at the same time, my mind was thinking like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. I don't ever do this kind of thing. I'm not like a nurturer. So like for me to like just be like rubbing his back just was so like out of character for me. But at the same time, I just kept doing it, you know? Like I was like, look at your pretty face. Or yeah, so I don't know. I guess I like you know, and he asked me once, like, what do you really want with sex or something? And I was like, well, I want love. Like, that's the best kind of sex you can have. in my opinion. And he was like, well, you can have great sex without love. But I think he's wrong. I mean, I think you can have great sex without love, but like that's the ultimate experience, is to like love somebody and have sex with them, right? It really is. I mean, the first guy I ever loved was, I mean, it was like throughout college. We had like a 4-year relationship, and we were definitely like on a level together, you know, like where the sex was amazing. We loved each other. And now I feel like that's so long ago that like I can't remember, you know, I don't think we were like transcending space and time, but we were definitely like in our own world, you know? I guess that's what a relationship is. It's like your own little world. Well, I've been thinking a lot about love anyway, like recently, because you don't, you know, I had this like realization the other day that like me loving other people is enough to feel good. And that's love. You know, love is like, you know, the sun shining on us every day. And that's like enough to just be like, this is amazing. So it's funny that I have this idea that like sex with love is great, because I really could just, you know, just say, I love this human being, and that's enough. But I have this idea in my head that like, I don't know, maybe it's not it, but that he loves me back, and that like we know it. But like, I don't know, maybe he does love me back. I don't know. I guess that idea of like, I mean, the reciprocation is like the ideal form of love, right? Like, I love you, you love me, and we know it, and we love each other. And that's like, you know, what the ultimate experience is. Maybe what it is like, it's like the freeing thing, right? So it's like, instead of just like knowing I love him, it's like we're able to tell each other we love each other, you know? And like, there's no wall about that. You know, I think this is kind of off topic, but like my ex-boyfriend is letting me use his apartment this weekend. And he was like, don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody, and don't let anybody know, because, you know, and I know it's because he doesn't want his friends and family to know, because I cheated on him and moved out, you know? And I told him, like, I was like, dude, like, this is like a really awesome thing, like that you can forgive enough to, and like you're willing enough to like forget about the hurt that I caused you or whatever, you know, like in the past. You're willing to forget about the past and like be kind and like loving and let me stay at your place. And like, I think that more people should do those kinds of things. There shouldn't be like some sort of stigma of like, we can't do this because they hurt you in the past. Or like, if more people were like, I hate using the word open because I say it funny, but like, if more people were open like that, like the world would be a better place. And I told him, I'm like, you should tell your friends. Like, I know you don't want to, but like, it might be a valuable lesson for them that like, we can be friends, like, and we can get over the things that like, we don't have to be stuck in this like bubble of like, oh, she did this to me or he did that to me. And like, we can like transcend that, you know? And I don't know, just be friendly and loving. But yeah, he still doesn't want to tell his friends and family. He's like, let me deal with it. I'm like, okay, your friends are trapped in like a Twilight Zone. Maybe I'm in the Twilight Zone. I don't know. like I just discovered a lot in this conversation. I guess talking is good. I guess what I think the most profound thing that I realize is like just to like don't hold on to these ideas that we have, you know, because what you really want and what anybody really wants, I think, is to just like, you know, give yourself the freedom to like play and be whoever you want to be, like, you know, and explore that person inside of you, you know, like sexually, I guess, but also not sexually, like just on a, you know, as a human being, but just to like not, you know, hold on to like what's right and wrong and good and bad, but like just let yourself go and like open your mind. I really got to free my mind. I'm on the path, but there's still things that I feel like I'm holding on to, which is mostly just fear. I think what it is like is that I'm afraid of people. Well, I don't know, like maybe I'm afraid that people will see the real me and like, I don't know what the fear is. I want to say that people will see the real me and like not like it, or they'll be just like, oh my God, like what, that's crazy. Or I feel like that's like a really general fear, but I feel like that's what it is, you know? It's just like, yeah, it's like rejection is the fear, you know, like with this guy is like, I don't like making the first move because I'm afraid that, which is absurd because I know what he wants from me. So it's absurd to think that if I went in for the kiss, he would think something bad. Like if anything, he would like it. You know what I mean? So like, why am I so afraid? And it's like, and that's what it is. It's like, I'm afraid that I'll be rejected. So I don't want to put myself in that position. So I just like wait for someone else to do it, you know, to make the first move or say, I love you first or whatever it is, because I'm afraid of being rejected. I mean, what I've learned in the last 6 months is that, like, failure is good, you know? Like, we all fail, and that's the only way we learn. And, like, if you're not failing every day, then you're not taking enough risks. And, like, you know, I really only learned that in the last year, because before that, I was like, I'm a huge fucking failure. And now I'm like, yes, I'm a failure. Like, I'm making mistakes every day. Like, this is amazing. Like, how many more mistakes can I make? You know? And so if somebody like rejected me or like turned me down, and that was like that was like, that's the fear coming true. Well, you know, then you just are like, okay, well, that didn't work. Now what? You know, like, and then you move on. And I guess that's just like, that's life, man. Right? It's like failure. I don't know. It's so funny because all your life people are like saying these things to you, like, you know, these idioms like about failure and about like making mistakes and like taking chances or like freeing your mind, like all these things that you hear your whole life. And like half the time you just like are like, oh, that sounds nice, but you have no idea what it means. You think you know, but you don't, which I'm sure is like, then, you know, as every year passes, it'll be like a new revelation. Like, oh God, I thought I knew back then, but boy, was I wrong, you know, like, But it's just so funny because like I feel like now like so many more things like I'm like, oh, that's what it was. Like, damn, I can't believe I was living so like I am a really naive person, but you know, I'm trying to grow. Yeah. I don't know. It's okay to be naive though, sometimes. I think that, I don't know, sometimes, yeah, I don't know. We're all in different places and we're all just learning from each other. And that's all you can do. Hey everybody. I hope that you learned something from me because I learned a lot in this conversation. So go forth into the world and be free. Goodbye.
So there we have it, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very, very much to our guest today for opening up your heart and your mind and sharing so much and growing with us. And thank you also to Noah Lampert for the music in this episode. Noah is the founder of MindPod Network, where you can find Walking Home and other great podcasts. But Noah, thanks again for providing the music and letting me put that into my podcast. Thanks also to everyone who is rating and reviewing on iTunes. Remember to subscribe so you can get future episodes as they come out. And that's it, everyone. Happy New Year. And I'll see you next week on the full moon.